Hello, I'm James Richardson, co-director of the Ag and Food Policy Center at Texas A&M, and I want to give you a short summary on a presentation I did last week at the United Ag Co-op in El Campo. I was asked to talk about the cost of production because there's a lot of concern that farmers don't know what their cost of production is, their break-even price cost is, and therefore how to really market their crops. And so what I did was put together a short presentation here about where you can go get data on your cost of production, or at least how to get started on it. The AgriLife extension provides updated budgets for most all crops, and they're in the Coastal Bend district. Dr. Levi Russell is our district economist there. Easy way to get to it is this website at the top of the screen. The Extension Ag Economics website is where it's going to take you to. You can pull your budgets in by district or by crop, as it shows here. And what I've done here is just gone to District 11 to show the types of budgets that are available. We have forage crops, field crops, and irrigated and non-irrigated. I'm going to go specifically and talk about the cotton budget here for just a few minutes, but you can pull budgets for all of the different crops with different yields, and you can use that as an input. What I have here is the corn GMO seed conventional tillage 12-row dryland 100 bushel yield goal for 500 acres. And this was put together by Dr. Russell, and it's updated each year based on current costs of production for the inputs. And as you see, it has production costs here, seed, fertilizer, etc. And it sums up the variable costs, and then it gets down here and talks about the fixed costs for that farm. Well, this is a good way to start your budget work. These numbers are just a guideline. They are not your numbers of cost of production. They're what you could use to estimate your own costs of production. These budgets are just a roadmap for you to use in building your own budget. Your costs will be different from many different regions, such as you may have volume discounts on your inputs. Your yields will certainly be different from these yields that are in the budgets. And your farming practices may differ, and your machinery may be newer or older. So let's look at some of the main things you'd need to know if you were going to modify these budgets. Your variable costs, these are usually the easy things. This amounts to your cost for fertilizers, herbicides, custom work, insecticides, and hired labor. The more difficult ones are such as allocating your diesel fuel or your repairs and your maintenance. And the easy way to calculate these costs is just to divide the total cost last year by the acres farmed and use that value for each crop for this coming year. Interest cost, that's pretty simple. Let's just sum up all of your variable costs, multiply it times an interest rate, multiply it times a fraction of the year that you're going to have the full amount of credit borrowed. Usually folks are working on a line of credit and they don't borrow all their operating money at the same time, all of it at the beginning of the year. So we find when talking to farmers across the country who are crop farmers that a 0.66 factor is fairly good. Now I'm going to switch over here in just a moment and talk and show you a spreadsheet that helps bring all this to life. But before I do that, let's talk about fixed costs. The land charge, your time and effort, machinery depreciation, and return on machinery investment are the fixed costs that we look at when we're examining your budget. Land charge, simple way to do this is just enter your local cash rent. Even if you're share renting, this may be a way of doing it. Your time and effort, simple way is your family living expenses divided by total number of acres farmed. Okay. Machinery depreciation, you can use a fixed value like 5% or 10% of the market value of all of your machinery. Divide that by a number of acres. Now that's going to be a lot different from one farm to the next, because some farmers have largely old equipment, some people have fairly new equipment. But this depreciation number is not necessarily the depreciation number that you put on your income tax form. It's 5 to 10% of the market value of machinery. Now there's also a cost item that you might consider, and that's a return on your machinery investment. And the extension budgets assume about a 7% value of the market value of all your machinery. Okay. So I'm going to switch here to a blank spreadsheet as a way of working on your basic budget calculator. You can start with a blank spreadsheet, or you could use the one that I've got that I'm going to bring up next here. And this spreadsheet is one I developed for that presentation last week, and if you want a copy of it, you can email me, and I'll give my email address here at the end of this presentation. This is a fairly simple spreadsheet that will show you what we can do. Okay. What I did was set this up as a very straightforward Excel spreadsheet. It runs on anything that has Microsoft Excel on it. And in this spreadsheet, if you change any cell that's in yellow, you can calculate your cost of production. Okay. So I've got a corn budget here, and I can put in for 500 acres. Okay. Expected yield of 125 bushel. Price of $3.66. That's a possible price. And then we can go down through here. And in column B, we have the variable costs per acre for chemicals. Say it's $14. Your landlord share is 33%, possibly, if that's your share rental arrangement. They may not pay anything for pre-emergence. The landlord may pay 33% of post-emergent herbicides. Glyphosate, $11 an acre. See, these numbers are easily changed. Seed costs, instead of putting in $90 an acre, you may put in $70 an acre. The landlord's going to pick up 33% of that in this. Or if landlord doesn't pay any, you can put in a 0. Okay, or you can put back 0.33 for the 33%. Go all the way down through here. Fertilizer, custom work. This is the application cost. It could be hauling, drying, ginning, etc. But whatever you consider your custom expenses. Insurance, $18.50 an acre is what I put in. Landlord pays a third of that. So general overhead and accounting costs, I've got $25 an acre in here. Insecticides could be 0 or it could be higher depending on what crop you've got. All you have to do is enter the crop at the top and enter the cost as you go down through. Now if you buy an option on your corn, in this case, I put in 28 cents a bushel as the cost of an option. Landlord pays their third of it, so you're only going to be up for 2/3 of the cost. And it calculates that value over here in 35 based on the price up above and in B5 and the share, the cost per bushel you put in. So it's using the yield times the 28 cents to calculate that $35. Machinery labor, this is basically all of your labor expenses divided by acres. Diesel fuel, total diesel cost for the year divided by acres. If you have irrigation costs, they could be in separate because it may not be diesel fuel, it could be electricity or some other fuel. Tractor maintenance, let's take all the maintenance on all of the equipment and divide it by acres and put it under tractor expense. Landlord won't pay any of that. This calculator will sum up all of your expenses here net of the landlord's share. Then the interest is specified here, and I need to enlarge that column there. Okay, interest is 7.5%. That's what I put in. Assumed to be paid over 2/3 of a year, 66%, and it calculates the total interest cost based off of that total variable cost. It comes down and calculates the variable cost per bushel for this farm. Returns over variable costs are counted. And then the spreadsheet continues here. In terms of fixed costs, this is the depreciation charge per acre that I put in here. The investment on tractors, self-propel. This is dollars per acre of total value of machinery on this farming operation. Multiplied by 7% gives us a $21 an acre. Management fee, I just plugged in $20 an acre to cover family living expenses. And the share rent, if we put in share rent here, we put in our 33%, it would calculate the value of the rent that you'd be paying to the landlord as his share of the receipts. Some of the fixed costs are some there, and costs accounted for is right there. Okay, it just sums the variable cost and the fixed costs. Divides through by bushels and acres, and it gives us a break-even cost of $4.42. Now, we keep going down here, there's two more sections. You can enter either revenue insurance or you can enter a yield insurance. This is the way I put in here at the moment. I put in 100 bushel APH yield on 125 bushel for the farm, average expected, insured yield at 75%, price election at $3.75. Now we're not through here. What's really useful about this spreadsheet is that when you get through entering all your data, you can come in and change what kind of price range you think may be relevant for the year. And you can change the expected yields and do what if question across here is what if my yield is 60 bushels or 70 bushels or 80 bushels or 100 bushels or 125 or 135. Okay? And it will calculate the net returns above variable and fixed costs given the alternative prices here, and you could change. You certainly wouldn't want to use my prices in here. Let's put in 3.5 and 3.6, not 5.6 but 3.6. See how easy it is to change those. We can drag those down and investigate what these net returns are above variable and fixed costs. Now this number down here in this bottom row 14 is your cost per bushel given the yield that's specified in that column. So if you can get 125 bushels on that, you get $4.42. If you can get your yield up to 135, your cost of production is $4.09. I hope this is useful. Let me switch back here to my PowerPoint and give you a email address where you can get to me. jwrichardson@tamu.edu. If you send me an email, I'll send you a copy of the spreadsheet that we just looked at here and answer your questions if you have a question about it. Thank you very much.